My name's Dan Corbett, and I'm the founder and managing partner of BlackIron Group. Today, I'd like to talk to you about using Salesforce as a job shop manufacturer, and then I'd like to demonstrate the tool for a manufacturer of anesthesia and ventilator products. But first, a shameless plug. We're in our 15th year as a Salesforce partner, and so for 15 years, we've helped customers refine their sales and service processes, extend their marketing reach, and automate and grow their businesses. That's kept customers coming back to us and Salesforce coming back to us, and for that, we are very grateful. Germane to today's conversation, we also have done over 300 integrations to various ERP systems, some of the biggest and the best in the world, like SAP and Oracle or any of the Microsoft products. And if we haven't done an integration to your specific ERP system, I imagine that there's still a way for us to make that happen. We'd love to talk about that. Manufacturing in the age of CRM has gotten very competitive. Job shop manufacturing in particular, in a made-to-order environment, you have to have the ability to build very rapid, very precise, and very flexible quotes very quickly for your prospects and for your customers. And production of those products is so highly customized that every time you reset the line, that costs you time and that costs you work. So making sure that you've got that lined up and that you can do it right is essential. Keeping those customers in a job shop manufacturing is probably harder than ever as well. Salesforce can help with a service offering that I'll show you later in the demo. And so while you're definitely spending money on your ERP systems, and that's for good reason, the customer in an ERP is kind of a reference. CRM will allow us to turn that relationship on its head and make the customer the central point of that reference. And the product data kind of a relationship to that, right? I'll show you that in a scenario that illustrates the power of Salesforce through an imaginary manufacturer of anesthesia, patient monitoring, and ventilator systems. It felt like it was kind of apropos to today's climate. Our client works with hospitals and surgery centers around the country. Their account reps build quotes for new centers or add-on equipment for existing customers. Our reps are mostly on the road, meeting with existing and prospective customers. And when they're back in the office, the call center deals with issues with the devices. Those issues are captured and resolved by both call center people remotely and field technicians out in the field to get things resolved. Finally, all of this data is used to analyze and improve the business. So let's get started looking at Salesforce. So here's a version of Salesforce, and I'll stress now and as many times as I can during the demo that this is only a sample. Salesforce is highly configurable and customizable, and so the version of Salesforce that you see here is not necessarily, in fact, it won't be for sure, the version of Salesforce that you'll end up with. In fact, inside of your organization, multiple user groups can have different views into the system. So services, interpretation, and understanding of Salesforce can be different than sales, which can be different from the executive team. Tabs across the top indicate functionality, but most of the time, the way that you get through Salesforce is by using the universal search. And so when you type university or uni in here, it finds all the records that exist out there for that start to match it up. So very quickly, I can find the records that I'm looking for inside of Salesforce. Going into this record, I see a sample view of what an account page can look like. And so here's a page where we've got that data basically put together. Over here on the left, I've got my contacts. I've got my opportunities, which we'll get into here in a second. I've got my assets. I've even got the work orders and the cases that belong to me. And I've got the details about the client right here on the system. I've also got what are called report snapshots, which give me a picture into the data that I've got out in the system for this particular report. So looking at opportunities is interesting. Understanding kind of what's going on at the opportunity level for an entire account is much more kind of productive, and I can do that using report snapshots to put that together. All right, so you can see that I'm working an active opportunity with University Orthopedics for patient monitoring. I want to go out and see University, and I want to see their new surgery center. I want to understand the layout. I want to understand how our equipment is going to fit into the various rooms and how we're going to connect this and make this into a project. But while I'm headed there, I want to make use of that trip to Connecticut to figure out who else is in the area, both prospects and existing customers, so I can make this trip productive and worthwhile. And to do that, I'm going to use a tool from Salesforce called Salesforce Maps. So Maps is a Salesforce overlay that exists to run and kind of manipulate and present Salesforce data in a mapped interface, as you see right here on the system. As you see, my account territories kind of constitute Boston and Fairfield County of Connecticut. Now, this is all interesting on its own right, to be able to see all your accounts this way. But what you can do in Maps is build out layers that show different data across the map. So this is all of my accounts. I want to see my low volume accounts. Which accounts am I not doing a whole lot of work with? And if I click on low volume, you can see that 2 new blue pins appeared here that tell me these are accounts that we haven't done much business with. Maybe these are the people I need to go see. As long as I'm going to be in Bridgeport, I should probably go up to Newtown and go to Milford and see these 2 customers too. And while I'm at it, I think I want to look at my prospects as well. I want to see what people that are out there in the system that have come in through the lead that maybe I can go check out and have a productive visit with. And so I've got a lead in the Hartford area that shows up on my record. So using these layers and having this data exist gives me the ability to capture this information. And then once I've got it, I can perform actions against these records, like adding to a route if I'm going to do it on one day, adding to a schedule so that I can build out a trip schedule to get there, or take me directly to this customer if I want to be able to do it. Once I'm there, I can also log a call and basically capture that activity. I can send an email directly to this customer, and any of the kind of other choices, they're called quick actions, that I want to do on this customer. My point is, Maps is a game changer for road warrior sales reps. I've got the ability to look at this data, capture this information, build my own schedule, and kind of plan out my productive trips so that I'm getting the most out of going to, in this case, Connecticut. Okay, once I'm on the road, I need the ability to harness the power of my CRM at my fingertips or in my pocket. And the way I'm going to do that is with Salesforce's revolutionary mobile app that runs on Android or iPhones called, well, oddly, Salesforce Mobile. With this tool, I can see all of the data that I've got in Salesforce. And spoiler alert, we're going to get to this dashboard here in a second. It's pretty cool. But right now, I want to start by looking at records. And so you can see, just like in the version that I showed you on the computer, I can see all my recent items. So if I click into University Orthopedics, I can see all of the detail about that record here in the system. I can see those reports that we had put together. I can see all of the details. I can see my contacts, right? So I know about Lauren, and I know about Stella, and I know about Avi. I've got all of that information kind of at my fingertips. And that's useful to have that data, particularly some of this reporting data out in the system. But what makes this system really compelling is that I can interact with Salesforce from my mobile device. So for instance, I can log a call if I am making calls from the road, and I can use that data to capture, and it's available inside of Salesforce. I can add a new task if I need to schedule a follow-up. But particularly important, especially for this kind of work, I can use what are called chatter posts. And in a chatter post, I can mention people within my company. And when I mention them, I can specifically talk to them about different work. So I can say, hey, Don, I'm at University Orthopedics today, period. I need to get an electrical wiring diagram to you, so we can figure out how to connect the tool. All right, and capturing that information using plain old speech to text that it's available on your phone gives those users who are maybe a little reluctant to use their phones and type out in the field a whole new game-changing way to interact with the CRM in the system. Keep track of what they're saying, collaborate using chatter with the people inside of the organization back in the office, and basically keep up to date on their opportunities. I can also take photos, and this becomes very important if you're doing this kind of work where you're out there scheduling different appointments, right? Scheduling different installs. So if I'm looking at a surgery center and trying to look at the different waiting rooms, I can take pictures of those. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, right? I can take that information and send that to Salesforce as well. So if I'm drawing out a wiring diagram for a patient monitoring system for 4 surgery rooms in a surgery center in Bridgeport, Connecticut, I can draw that out. I can wipe and wire the schematics, but I can also take pictures of that and get it back to my engineering team so that they can start to do that work. Absolutely game-changing technology for out in the field. All right, back in Salesforce, I know what I need to work on. I need to work on that orthopedics, the patient monitoring opportunity for University of Orthopedics. Back on my trusty account profile record where I've got my reports, and I can click into this opportunity to start to see more data about the deal that I'm chasing with these guys right now. And so, just like accounts, once you learn how to use one page in Salesforce, you basically learn how to use them all. I capture that information. I know the details of my opportunity kind of listed here. I know, and we'll get to that CPQ stuff, I know the products that I'm selling. I know if I've got quotes. I know all of my activities that are out there in the system. And basically, this has been brought in either from Outlook Exchange or Gmail. There's a tool called Salesforce Inbox that will bring that in for me, which is great. And I can keep track of everything that's basically been said to this customer about this opportunity. But knowing the stage of the deal and knowing when the deal is expected to close and knowing how much I think that deal is worth is pretty useful information, but it's exactly half the information that I need, in my opinion, as a job shop manufacturer. I also need to be able to take that information and turn it into a quote that makes sense for that customer. To do that, we're going to use a tool called CPQ, Salesforce CPQ, Configure Price Quote, which will allow me to take those basic products, add on optional bundles, and make that quote much more compelling in terms of what it actually visually looks like, so that I can use that information to send that and communicate to the customer about what it's going to take to do the deal, and save all of that complicated quote and configuration information in the system for use when we eventually win. So using base Salesforce, we're going to walk into the quoting function, into CPQ. And in here, the first thing I want to do, I built this in advance so you didn't have to watch me do that. I'm going to edit the lines. This is going to give me the ability to add product to this opportunity, to this quote. So this screen kind of comes up and lets me enter the items into the tool, and I can enter those items in a variety of ways. The way that I want to do it is by using the category that the items belong to. So you can see I've got anesthesia, ventilator, patient monitoring. I can also add favorites, which is a cool tool. But in this case, I want to pick patient monitoring and see just the items that belong to patient monitoring. All right, so in this example, I want to grab the 5060. And if I select that item, you'll see that Salesforce is basically going to tell me that I have two optional items that I must add to an Omega patient monitoring system. Now, if I had picked a ventilator, that's something that we could just ship. But in this case, I need to be able to do both an installation and I need to be able to provide a service level agreement. Now, a service level agreement could be blank. I'm not going to show you how that works, but basically I can take the optional items that belong to this. I can build them out in a way for the screen that makes sense, and then I can add those to my to my quote, so that shows up eventually in my. That information loads up for me, it gives me my item, and it indicates to me that I've got two optional products associated with it, and the price is that out for me. So when I save this, back on my quote screen, you can see that all of those products got summarized for me and added up to $230,000 in this case for the three items. I can also apply discounts. Now I'm going to apply a discount at the quote header level. You can apply discounts at the line item level. You can build out approval processes so the discount can't be greater than X, or if it's greater than X, it asks for approval from somebody else in the organization. So there's a lot of choices around how we discount and how we get approval for that. But when I save out that discount, then I can use that information in the system and calculate out the difference. If I refresh this screen, you can see that the $230,000 that I originally had, it's a 10% discount of $23,000 and becomes $207,000. And all that can be done right within the system and basically calculated for me. The final thing I'm going to do is go ahead and create the quote document. I didn't create a great looking one, I have to be honest, but there's a very interesting quote document creation engine inside of CPQ that we can take advantage of. Essentially taking that data, showing the three items, giving a proper kind of header information and a signature block, I can really improve and enhance this quote template. I can build out dynamic terms and conditions, put your logo obviously in the corner, but essentially this gives me the ability to have a document to send out to the customer that they can then sign, that I can track inside of Salesforce as a quote. And I think one of the things that a lot of manufacturers struggle with is we're sending quotes out into the ether all day long, wondering if it's being effective. Using the base CRM functionality with reports, dashboards, and a tool called Process Builder, it's a workflow engine. I can track how long it's been since I sent that. I can remind the sales reps that it's been a certain amount of time, and basically require or at least manage the follow-up against those quotes. All right, so congratulations, we won the deal, right? And so now we're installing and have installed the patient monitoring systems. By the way, we can track that project as well inside of Salesforce. That's an important piece of the mechanism for you. And give us a call. We'd love to. We have another video on that. We'd love to show you how that works. But once it's out there, we've also got the ability to track those assets. These assets created or became kind of assets when I closed and won the quote. So winning the quote, the act of winning the quote, creates these assets for me. And now I know what this particular customer has of our products. I know the serial number. I know when it was installed, and I've got some basic information about the overall sort of install base at University Orthopedic. Things happen in the field, right? So our equipment breaks down, or we have software errors, or users have issues. You know, if they're seeking guidance, we can solve those problems remotely through case management in Salesforce. But a lot of the times, we have to go out and fix those. And so Salesforce has another tool called Field Service Lightning, FSL, that will give me the ability to manage and create and manage work orders, and then schedule techs out in the field to ultimately resolve those problems. Let's jump into how that works. But first, kind of a quick, in my imaginary demo, I created some work orders based on the patient monitoring system. You see those over here on the side. We're going to jump into FSL, and I'm going to show you how we dispatch a distance. And so here you see Salesforce's Field Service Lightning tool. I've got 5 different service appointments living over here on the side that I'm about to schedule. I've got 1 service tech territory in Connecticut, and although this is a demo org and I've only got 1, I'm going to show you a picture here in a second of an actual client's Field Service Lightning page. But essentially, I can drag these into the schedule myself, or I can run a job that will automatically schedule these for me. So if I pick all here and hit schedule, basically everything that was put together from a scheduling perspective for the day across my clients in Connecticut are going to get that. You can kind of see them here getting scheduled in the system dynamically on Thursday. Salesforce figures out what my schedule looks like, what my workload looks like, takes into consideration my coffee breaks you're about to see, and then captures that information and loads up those appointments for me. This is kind of a small example because we're only looking at it in a single, for a single rep. That's all I could do in a demo org. Here's an example of a page from an existing customer right now that's using it. And so you can see all the different techs out here in the field. You can see the different statuses based on the service appointments out here in the schedule. These tailing lines tell me how long it's going to take to travel to the customer. The color codes indicate what kind of work order it is. So all of this information to get that scheduled and out in the field is available through Field Service Lightning. And we can set that up to get your field techs more confident and more mobile kind of in the system, using it as they go out into the field and fix and repair and update and maintain and enhance. Lastly, and I appreciate you sticking with me. I know this has been a long demo, but there's been a lot to show. We can take all of that data around the opportunities, around the quotes, around the work orders, around the assets, around the products, and use it to draw out meaningful dashboards, both remotely, right, on your mobile device, or in the office through the desktop application in Salesforce. Any of that data can be put together in some sort of graphically interesting way. So you can see my sales by territory, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New York here. You can see closed sales kind of gas gauge here, how I'm doing against the year. What my stretch is and where I'm predicted to be. I can see sales by different product family. I can see key or open opportunities. Basically, any of the data, I can see my win percentage. Any of the data that I have in Salesforce can then be used to build out reports, and those reports can be dashboarded. I know I didn't spend nearly enough time on these dashboards, but imagine that all of the data that you're currently capturing in spreadsheets or emails, or even in your ERP system, which is pretty tough probably to use on a reporting basis, could be harnessed and put together in visually appealing dashboards that you can use both in the office and on the road. So we come to the end of our journey. What's next? We would love to hear from you. So please reach out to BlackIron Group by sending us an email at info@blackiron.com, or by calling me, Dan Corbett, directly at 604-6765. You can also reach out directly to your Salesforce rep. We appreciate your time. Thanks for listening and watching.